Yo, what's up? It's your boy DGL7. Today I have a special guest, actually all the way from California. Quite excited. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lawrence Milan. I'm a candidate for Congress out of San Jose, California, and that's in California District 18.
Okay, so appreciate that. Now, just to let us get to know, the first half of the interview is really getting to know who you are as a person, right? People, that's pretty relevant. So, what's people start their political journey in different ways, right? Yeah. What started your whole political journey? What made you, right? Yeah. What's your first love
Oh
in
man,
politics?
that's a fun question. So I first ran for office in third grade. I ran for secretary,
Okay.
and then the next year was fourth grade. It was Bush versus Gore,
Okay.
and though I was in fourth grader, I always followed politics as
Okay.
best as a fourth grader could, and so that kind of started my interest. And then a senior year in high school, I saw Barack Obama become inaugurated, and I thought this world really has changed to support people in different ways. And ever since that moment, I've always wanted to be involved in a political level, not just a community level, not just through like my church or a Boy Scout organization or a nonprofit organization. I really wanted to prepare myself to go for Congress one day.
Just from looking at, I've done a little bit of research on you. I believe that you're kind of like a progressive type of guy.
Yes, I would say I'm pretty left-leaning progressive.
When your whole journey started, right? You said you first started like running for, third grade, like student president, whatever, right? Yeah. But were you progressive back then? You talked about Bush, right? Was it like, or did you evolve? Okay. Yeah. What did it start with?
That's a good question. I would say I wouldn't say I understood what progressive was as a little kid, but I knew that I did not understand the Republican Party's platform. And I knew that I identified with what Gore wanted to work with and what
was attractive about, like, there's multiple, right? Was it because he invented the internet? Probably not. Was it the environmentalism? Probably, right? As a kid.
For me, it was the history of Republicans taking away things from people. And this is as me understanding as a little kid, right? Like I've always felt like Republicans were vilifying people, or they were not
things. Meaning what? You mean like entitlements, or you mean like their homes, or you mean like their lives, right? Yeah, taking what away? Go ahead.
I felt like that. So I have a lot of people in my family have mental health issues, people on the autism spectrum, and so I had a lot of issues within my family of like Reagan taking away social support for people who couldn't necessarily take care of themselves. And they were being taken care of through community and, federal and state and county hospitals. But then all of a sudden that burden was put on my family. And my family is already a working class family. And then, or their taxes were being raised, or there wasn't enough mental health or drug access, things that were taken away. And we were almost demonized for it because we couldn't pull up our bootstraps.
So you're in third grade. You see like your parents or your grandparents or somebody right in your family like losing access to some care, and you're like, that got you a little bit politicized. That's good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See, that also helps us to understand. Like, I think that you said one of the big issues that you have are healthcare and taking care of, and anti-war stuff, and that kind of like lines up, right? Like your whole George Bush was doing the war and stuff, so it does line up. That's why I like to ask that.
And don't get me wrong, like as I grew up and I learned what happened during the Clinton administration, like the Defense of Marriage Act, I would have voted no against that. I think that's terrible. And the don't ask, don't tell policies I didn't think were great. They're not good at all. And I'm glad those were repealed.
I've been on welfare several times, and just so you know, the rollback of welfare into workfare, where you actually work for less than minimum wage, was done under Clinton. And they give the little speech. I've been to welfare office several times. They're like, during the Clinton era, this is when all the changes happen. Good luck, buddy. And it's like, wow.
And I think that's another thought-provoking idea is like my parents, well, my mom, I grew up with a single mom. She was not very vocal about what was going on during the Clinton administration because I think she was so busy raising two kids that it wasn't until high school and college that I was actually learning like, oh, these guys weren't as progressive as I thought and what people were painting them as.
Good to know. Okay, good. So people come through different levels of experience and knowledge. So that's good to know. Okay. So now the next question is going to be, there's different people who have different, everybody comes into the game with different ideas, right? But what have you accomplished that also helps us to get to understand, like, your level of expertise in this field, things like that. What are you most proud of accomplishing? But please answer in a way that's relative to the job you're applying for. So sometimes people say my kids, and I get that answer, but we're not here about that. We're like, something managerial or leadership based or passing a law or something. Yeah. So, what is your relevant accomplishment?
My biggest accomplishment is I started a nonprofit when I was 21 for mental health. People suffering from mental health issues in college specifically. It was called Firewood Industries. Unfortunately, that is no longer in service. It's no longer active. I didn't secure enough funding to have it be a long-term viable thing. But what it was is basically it was creating a peer-to-peer network that allowed you to work with other people who were dealing with mental health issues, and you created a kind of community, a foundation where it's like, hey, I know me and Jaime or me and Ashley, we're going through something, and we have this platonic, caring relationship that allows us to build each other up, and then it creates a network outside of that. So was that
the first business you ever started?
Yeah.
Okay. And was that while you were in college? It sounds like you were around that
age. I was in school when I started that. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. That's awesome, dude. So you did all the paperwork. That's quite a bit, right?
Yeah, I was in England when I did it. I was studying abroad, so it was a bit different over there getting things done. Which is partially why it broke down. But yeah.
Pretty cool.
I'm really proud of doing that, and I'm really proud of reaching out to individuals and seeking help and ideas from people who I knew were going through things that wanted and were looking for help, but then are also willing to provide feedback and opinions to make it better for them.
Okay. If there's a couple things, it doesn't have to be just one thing, right? But if you have a couple things, but is that really the big one right there? Or is there a couple?
That one's really fun. One of the things I'm most happy about is during COVID, during lockdowns in California, we created a city of San Jose and County Santa Clara created a team that was going door to door getting people vaccinated. So I helped get several hundred people vaccinated that were in high risk, low income areas that were still working, that they weren't able to work from home. Okay. And I was able to knock on thousands of doors. So doing a lot of door-to-door knocking, community outreach, so that communities can be engaged and informed, but also uplifted to get the help that they need, and to know that, hey, there's people out here that want to see you healthy and succeed. And I'm really proud that I was able to be a part of that group.
Okay. Before you said mental health, now you're doing vaccines. Do you have some kind of medical experience, or did you go to school for medicine or something?
I have a degree in behavioral science from San Jose State University. So the background is sociology, anthropology, and psychology.
I do like behavioral science. Do you watch those behavioral analysis videos?
Yeah, I've watched a few.
Oh, I love them. I love them. Go ahead. Yeah.
I love a good murder mystery, behavioral science-esque type show. But yeah, so basically I have a little bit of a background in counseling, a little bit of background in advising, understanding sociological, like societal cues and anthropological cues, such as how people have gotten to this point. And so I try to combine that and create an input and put myself and be involved in the community using that education.
Well, I'm glad to know, about these things. It's good to see, you have some hands-on experience. I do approve of that. We're going to talk about some other issues in a moment, but this is good to know, your level of expertise. You, at a young age, how old are you again now?
40? 32. I'm going to be 33 in July.
Oh, you're still kind of young. Not.
Yeah, kind of young. My knees will say otherwise.
All right. Cool. So, all right. So the thing is that different people come to AOC is famous for being a socialist, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If she even is, whatever that means. But the thing is that right, some people are this. Do you have a certain political ideology that you follow, or maybe not? I don't know. Yeah. What is just let us know.
That's a good question, because I'm running as a Democrat, but I find myself very much involved in socialist ideals.
Okay.
And liberal ideals. I think socialist ideals in America don't really reside with people, but if you say you're following liberal ideals, and there's a bit of difference between the two.
And what do you?
So I feel like sociological ideals,
Well,
socialism
whatever
ideals.
those things are, I'm really concerned about
Yeah,
what
so
your
like
ideals are.
if you go
right?
live
Your
in,
ideals.
if you go, my ideals are very much builds community first, and that means good health infrastructure, good school infrastructure, using our taxes in a way which benefits communities and not necessarily benefits like big business.
Okay.
So that's like the crux of it, is making sure that what we're outputting comes back to benefit us.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, you want to help people, right? Yeah, and you want to overall just be, less of a libertarian, right? You kind of like to help people and stuff.
I like to help people. Yeah, libertarian. I see how people could follow that, but no, I do think that government, since we are giving them our taxes, the government should play a role in how they disperse the taxes. And specifically, I think, as much as I love business and people growing their business, I feel like when dealing with just through the government, like we could create a single payer healthcare system, or we could have government run railroads. Like all these things could be services we provide for people instead of trying to extract capital and wealth out of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say you're socialist leaning, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Good to know. Okay. So from there, right, the thing is that once again, right, these terms and stuff is sometimes hard to really know. So sometimes we can help to solidify and really get that down by looking at maybe people that you are influential to your political thought, right? So for example, right, it doesn't have to be within that framework, but if I said I was, for example, Republican, I could say I'm a McCarthy, or I could say I'm a McCarthy Republican. I could say I'm a McCain Republican. I would say a Reagan Republican. I could say I'm a Trump Republican. That probably would be different understandings. You might be a Democrat. You could say you're FDR Democrat. You might say like a New Deal. There's right. So would you maybe not right for myself? I use Malcolm X and Martin Luther King a lot. Who's influential to your own political thought?
I'm really big in. I try to pull from a lot of people and I try to be well read. So I really love FDR and his advancement for unions. Okay. I really love Bernie Sanders and his vehement opposal to these top 1%ers and his ideas of taxing the uber wealthy to support the lower and working classes and everyone else in between. I'm really big into Martin Luther King and his ideas of deconstructing capitalism. I pull a lot from James Baldwin, Dolores Huerta and her support of unions and farm workers in the March to Sacramento.
I have to look that one up. I don't know that one.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez. They were two really influential Mexican leaders in California, and they helped get a lot of good things done with farm workers.
Latinos have one well-known activist, Cesar Chavez. Asian Americans have zero. So we'll get there.
Which is unfortunate. Because
I feel like you're really my brother. You are our brothers in so many ways, Latinos.
Dude, completely.
We get left out. We get left behind a lot, right? It's
dude, wait
white
till
and black, and where's us? What? Come on.
Wait till you look up Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez and how they work together. Their movement started because of a union run by Filipinos. They were the ones willing to strike first, and they were the ones willing to enact and show their workers' power first.
I do know there was a little bit of face-off between the Filipinos and Chavez, but nothing's perfect. Once again,
right? Exactly.
It's we're not living inside of a computer, right? There's it's the real world has a little messiness, and we gotta figure that out. So
yes, there. I call it nuance.
Okay, yeah. True. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so as in terms of I guess that's good to just get to I might have forgotten a question, but let me go back. I'll get back to that later. But let me get to actually your policy and stuff.
Yeah.
Now the thing is that I have actually a lot of partners that I work with. I don't know if you got to see some of my work. I'm gonna guess right now. You did? Oh my goodness!
I was able to look at a few videos and checked out your website.
Well,
But
my
yeah.
work is extensive, so I don't know if you were able to dig in the depth of it, but it goes pretty deep. So I have like 5 partners that I ask for, maybe even. Let's start with those 5 first. I ask every candidate these questions. Let's start off with my partners. Like put my partners first. First one is going to be Assange. Do you support the freedom of Assange?
I do not know who Assange is. I couldn't speak to any of your partners.
Have you ever heard of WikiLeaks?
Yes.
Okay, Assange is the guy around
Oh,
WikiLeaks.
him. Yes. Julian Assange.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yes. I think what he did was very brave. And I think whistleblowers in America are given a shitty deal.
That's me.
Yeah.
Whistleblower in the toilet. That's why I'm staying for Assange, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for being brave and being a whistleblower yourself.
If he could be free, then maybe it shows the other whistleblowers that maybe we can get justice. So
yeah. I that's one policy that I think Americans, and especially Obama, got really wrong with how they treated Chelsea Manning and Foden and
Snowden. Yeah.
Snowden. Sorry, Foden is a
Premier
League football player that I just confused with a.
It's all good. Hey, so now the second group that I work with, I was part of the Yang Gang. So the thing is that UBI, right? Yeah. How do you feel about UBI?
When I first heard that, I thought it was almost insane, but he brought something forward that I think definitely is now needs to be talked about, because AI is happening left and right. And also, if I don't know how much you follow tech companies out in the West Coast, but they are laying off people left and right due to redundancies. And so how do you have a whole group of people who are now deemed redundant, and you have thousands of kids graduating from local universities and universities across the world vying for jobs that there's no guarantee they're going to be there?
Yeah, we're bankrupting our children. It's a huge problem. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah.
Universal basic income is something that I think he was light years ahead of his time, and I really humbled me.
Well, actually, Martin Luther King spoke about it first.
Yes, he did, also through reparations and things like that. But he wasn't talking about it in the way that Yang talked about it.
Right. Well, yeah, Yang has some different modifications and stuff.
Right.
Actually, just so you know, I appreciate your overall support for it, but I also recommend, just from my experience, just being active for 25 years, a lot of the things they say are forced get weaponized against us. So sometimes people in the Yang Gang, there's a lot of young people, and they'd be like, "Oh, a tax break is the same thing as UBI." I'd be like, "No, it's not. No, it's not." Yeah. So a lot of them were just convinced that to mix up all these labels, and I was like, "Oh my god, come on," Yeah. So that was anyway. That's so I appreciate that. Yeah. So number 3, another group that I work with, by the way, is the trans community. Now the thing is that we know that the trans people face a lot of discrimination. They are actually discriminated against in jobs. They discrimination in housing. So this is going to be a theoretical question for you. Let's suppose that 10% of the people applying for public housing are trans.
Okay.
And then we go and we collect some numbers, right? Yeah, I think Medicare actually does this, right? People fill in black or white, right, when they're doing their questionnaire. And this data is compiled to see are black and whites getting the same, equitable treatment, right? This is not done for all minority groups, and it's not done for in all the services, but it's done Medicare. But when we take a look at housing, right? Yeah, we see 2% of people in public housing are trans. So we see the discrepancy. We go to talk to the trans community. This is all hypothetical. They say, "Oh, we're getting beat up, right? This is we're getting discriminated against." So now there's no law saying that you can discriminate against trans people, but they find themselves with this kind of thing going on, right? Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I have a call from President Emmanuel. How's it going? I'm actually in the middle of an interview right now. Let me call you right back. I'm so sorry. Is that all right? I'm so sorry. Thank you. All right, cool. All right. Exciting things going on. I can't wait to put you in touch with the other candidates that I'm working with.
Yeah.
So let's move it on. So the thing is that I was talking about the trans people, and they have difficulties finding housing, right? Now 2% of the people are there, right? You see some data that says that they're facing discrimination, like they're saying it themselves too. There's no law saying it's illegal, but you see this thing. How are you what can you do to help this community get fair access to government services?
So I find it as something like the implementation of Title IX in universities. allowing for non-discrimination among sexes. But even now, that needs to be advanced to include non-binary and trans people.
Okay.
The question reminds me a lot of what I learned about redlining and how so many other minority communities were discriminated against. And so it needs to be, I think there needs to be federal protections, but also we need to work with local and state representatives to make sure that no one slips through the cracks. Because as much as we want to say there's federal protections, there's cities and counties everywhere in America that don't care, and they'll still enact theirs. So there needs to be federal oversight throughout, because they deserve protections, and trans people deserve homes, and they deserve a livelihood. And so, I
could see the gears spinning, right?
Yeah.
I've asked almost 100 candidates this exact question, so I've gotten to see many different responses. But I do feel like your response is pretty good. Just so you know, one thing that you did say was, you were concerned about redlining. So one thing that might have been going through your mind, tell me if this is true or not, right? Yeah. Is the idea of ghettoization, right? Some people say, oh, we're going to put all of the trans people into one housing. But I think that you thought about that for a second.
Yeah.
Like, we put and you're like, wait a second, we can't do that.
No.
Because we can't take all the trans people and stick in one building.
Right.
That would be redlining. So I think you went through the whole process real quick and just broke down to the final piece. Am I right?
Right.
Oh,
it was close to that. It was close to that. I was thinking about how Black and brown people were put into one area.
There you go. Yeah.
And then their property values were driven down. But trans people, they shouldn't be shunned into a corner because of how they identify and who they really are.
Yeah. Not a bad answer. Pretty solid. Yeah. And I do think that's one of the better answers, just so you know. It's a tough answer, right? Because it's already right. Yeah. Like
it is
already there, but
it's a heavy legislative answer. Like the law needs to be really well written. It needs to make sure that it can't face, if it does face challenges in the courts, it has to be able to stand up to court precedent, things like that. So as much as
what I appreciate about your answer, though, was you took a federal response running for a federal position. So it shows that you kind of know what you're talking about. Also, it shows that you have some knowledge. I know that you don't have, I'm going to find out more about your experience, right? You may not have as much experience. I have a lot more experience than a lot of the candidates who come up, right? Which is fine, right? Yeah. But I do see some maturity of political thought in your answer. So that's cool. I'm almost 50, so I know I don't look like it.
I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the open.
Not bad, though. Not bad. It's one of the best answers, honestly, right? Yeah, the federal approach. I think that another candidate who did very well in the answer recently was Ronald Slater, right? Yeah. Also one of the best answers, I think. Just well, I don't even want to go with that. You can watch the other candidates.
Yeah, we can chat on the side.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's go to the next one. Another group that I work with is disabilities. And the thing is that right now, people with disabilities are allowed to be paid sub-minimum wage.
Yes.
Now, the thing is that, we take a minimum wage, and it's often pegged to like poverty lines, things like that. Maybe it has to be, right, if they can't have the same level of payment or productivity, maybe, right, it has to be federal subsidies or something. But would you at least support minimum wage somehow so that the people can, have at least a minimal standard of living?
Yes, I completely agree. And I think I think that it's wrong when minimum wage gets taken to lower levels, such as like if in New Hampshire, or if you're in Chicago and you're a server or bartender, you get terrible wages. And people who have disabilities should not be treated differently. They can be just as productive in society. When they find what they're good at and then they perform well at it, they should be paid for that. It's absurd to me that businesses can take advantage of that, but in this America, it doesn't surprise me that it happens. I would 100% support a federal minimum wage growth for them and raising the overall minimum wage.
I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing called right to repair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you support right to repair?
100%. If you pay for it, you own it. You deserve to. It baffles me. I know people in my family that repair phone screens, and they do such a meticulous job because they don't want the phone to realize that it's being repaired by a non-company product. It's just a way to create obsolescence issues, right? Feigned obsolescence. It needs to be fixed. You need to get the new one. No, we should be able to repair it and have it last a lot longer than things do. I completely.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, they're very cool, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's move on to
Yeah.
the next one. Now, the
For
thing is
sure.
that when we take a look at the federal government, there's state government, there's city government. City government takes care of like real estate and like schools, like to an extent, right? Yeah, police, right? Yeah, but the federal government takes care of the military, immigration, things like that. So, also endorsements. That's entitlements, right? That's like welfare, things like that, Social Security. Those are like big parts of the budget. So we'll cover some of those big issues, but out of all the issues that are out there, do you have like a certain specialty, or you can't be masters of everything, but what issues do you really kind of feel more?
So healthcare and housing are some really near and dear things that I think federally we can help with. California has a huge homeless crisis, and a lot of it just has to do with available housing. A lot of California and country and cities across the country decided to do urban sprawl instead of building dense housing, and I think that the federal government could help create dense urban housing environments that allow people to grow and people to live. So that housing is really important to me. And then healthcare, like if you can't work, then you can't get healthcare, and then you overwork yourself so that you can get healthcare, but then you can never go get your healthcare because you're overworked and you're sick and you don't have the money. Like it's just a vicious cycle. So those two things are huge to me because I see it in my district.
What part of the what part of California are you from?
Born and raised in San Jose, California.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I don't really know San Jose. Are you still in San Jose area?
Yeah.
Okay, so right now I'm in New York City, which is actually the most populous city in the nation with 8.5 million. Now, I was told I used to say that LA is only 4 million, but then someone gave me something one time. It's like, well, LA, if you look at the suburbs or the areas surrounding it, it's so big. It's like 10 million. I don't really know.
LA County. They say LA County, and that LA County's got like 20 million people in it.
Oh, really? So, look, I don't really know about all this stuff.
Don't worry about it.
Okay,
I got you.
Actually, San Jose, is it a very urban area? Is it more kind of
it's
how close is to LA? I don't know.
No,
very close. I don't know.
We're 45 minutes south of San Francisco. We're at the bottom of the bay. We're home of Silicon Valley. Atari was started here. Apple was started here. There's a lot of tech companies that started here. The semiconductor industry started here. So San Jose is populated. It's over 1 million people, but it's all urban sprawl. It's all suburbs.
Wait a second. So before we actually went live, we had a little discussion. You said I asked if you're a Latino. You said you are, right? Yeah. You're Mexican, I believe. Hey, Mexican is cool. Mexican, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I think Depp used that line. Who used that line? Was it Depp or was it Banderas? Yeah.
I always learned that from George Lopez, the comedian George Lopez.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I love hanging out with Mexicans. Out here, the Puerto Ricans are super strong. Dominicans have their own thing going, but Mexicans are always like, they're never better than you. They're always hanging out with you. They're always like, let's hang out there.
Yeah,
I love Mexicans.
We're definitely a YOLO crew. You only live once. Let's have fun. I'll still make it to work in the morning type of people.
Yeah, Mexicans are super cool. Anyways, but you said that your area is mostly Latino, but wait a second, it sounds like it's all this. The way you just described that, it sounds like rich white yuppie town. But
so
what is this?
The way districting worked in California got redistricted, and they lost 2 electoral votes, and so they had to redistrict a lot of all the districts. So the majority of my district, yes, is 63% Latino, but San Jose as a whole only covers a small percentage by square miles of the actual district.
Okay.
So most of San Jose, depending on what neighborhood you're in, it can be very white and very affluent.
But you're not in that part. You're in the Latino area.
Yeah. We're okay.
Interesting.
The northernmost border, the northwesternmost border is an area called the Rose Garden of my district, and that is very, very wealthy. I went walking there before the Super Bowl, and it took longer to walk down some driveways than it did actually talking to people.
Okay, I gotta ask, just my own thing. I know some Latino, I think they have leftists going on, but here I think it happens a lot with Asians. I do feel like you're very Americanized. Wait. You were born in the U.S., right? You're the first generation.
Born and raised in
Now, I
San Jose.
feel like technically, I call you second generation because I think if your parents became citizens, they are first generation. But I ain't mad at that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, most Americans say you're first generation because you're born here. Hey, I ain't mad at that too. Technically, I'm in the same boat right here. I'm the
Okay.
same level. Um, but I always feel like a lot of the politicians from the Asian ones are born in Asia. And I'm like, I feel like that's kind of weird. I feel like they're more marketable somehow. They want Asians to have accents, stuff like that. They want them to be conservative. They want them to support schools and commercial solutions versus questioning those institutions. Um, so does it happen for Latinos as well? Like, or
So there's a little bit of similarity there in the Latino community.
Yeah, you seem very Americanized for a
I'm
politician from the Latino
I am
background.
not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm not a full speaking Spanish Latino, but I'm also not the Latino that denies their like Latino existence.
Right.
I'm still very much part of the culture, and I love being a part of Latino culture. But I also have got very light skin for a Mexican man.
But plus, you're born here, like
I was
just
born
don't get
here,
to
so
speak the
but there's also
language.
so
Like
there is a
Hindi,
language thing.
yeah.
Like my Spanish is really poor, but I grew up in a household that refused to speak Spanish and refused to like teach Spanish, and there was a bit of learning Spanish and being a part of a Spanish culture was a bit adversarial. A lot of people in my family wanted me to assimilate into American culture, heavily.
Yeah.
And so like I went to a private school for a good amount of my life. There were certain habits and things and people that they wanted me to hang out with because that would propagate the American dream and build us up and build wealth.
Yeah.
And so it
They
can
didn't
be
want you to be held back. They felt like
right.
it was, and I
Yes.
get it. They felt the discrimination. They
Yeah.
felt like it was holding them back. They wanted you to to fit in. So,
but what's really cool right now is that there's a lot of Latino politicians, and I say that with a heavy accent because there's politicians in San Jose where their first language is Spanish and they're speaking English, and they're out here showing us culture and showing a lot of previous generations that it can be done being a Spanish speaker first and then an English speaker second. It's really cool to see how much San Jose has grown in my lifetime. I mean, my first mayor, I remember his name was Ron Gonzalez, but he was the only Latino that I knew of. And now there's our city council has two Latinos. We have several supervisors that are Latino. One is terming out, but another, and yeah, it's great to see.
I can relate. I see some similarities. Just just jumped in my face. Okay, so the thing is that okay, let's start asking about some of the issues going on for the day. Now the thing is that right now we take a look at the U.S. is involved in these wars. That's a big topic right now, from Ukraine to the Israel-Palestine thing going on. I know those are the big topics, and we'll talk about some other things in a moment. But what about what's your take on those things?
So, let's just start with saying this. I consider myself a non-violent human being. I practice nonviolence. I don't believe in harming other people, but I do believe in defending oneself. And I think that's what Ukraine is doing against Russia. I think Russia is run by like a dictator he's emulating the words of Hitler, and he wants to advance his agenda.
Okay.
And I think he is a threat. And so I firmly believe in supporting Ukraine.
Interesting.
Now,
okay.
when it comes to Israel, I think what Israel is doing is wrong, and I think us supporting Israel is wrong. I think Palestinians were screwed over when the two-state system was implemented. Okay. I think Palestinians are being slaughtered and there's genocide happening against them. And I understand people want to say, but Hamas is a terrorist. Yes, Hamas has done terrible things. But when you see videos of kids walking into a hospital getting shot, or people trying to deliver water to their grandparents or whomever, and they're getting shot lying in the street for delivering water, like that's unacceptable. And plus we've flattened 80% of their infrastructure. There's no more universities, there's no more churches, there's nowhere to go. And I don't think what we're doing in it is okay.
Okay, I appreciate your take on that. Yeah. Now the thing is that there's some countries that they don't talk about. I'm just gonna ask about my country right now. I'll ask about your country. What about Korea? What do you have any thoughts about that? Or
yeah. I think Korea. My grandfather fought in the Korean War, and I feel like that's just another example of American intervention gone wrong.
Okay.
But to say something 70 years after the fact is only from I can only learn from what I read from books. I think North Korea does pose a threat if they were to ever get nuclear capabilities and
I
have
think they already
missiles.
have nuclear capabilities.
In terms
I think
of
they've had it.
capabilities and keep in terms of rockets that could reach Korea.
They mean that could reach the U.S.
Yeah, and could reach the U.S. too. But I wouldn't want to go to war with them. I would not want to take any North Korean lives because it's at the end of the day, like our world will not be a better place if we have to go to a war with another country. And especially people on the Korean Peninsula, they don't deserve that because they're directly in the line of that conflict. So my idea would be just negotiate as much as possible, work with them as much as possible, and
I think the big issue right now is the sanctions, right? Yeah. Are you supporting the sanctions or against the sanctions?
I do agree with sanctions against North Korea. But in terms of like Cuba, I think our sanctions against Cuba after all of these years seem a bit misguided. And I think President Obama was on the right path to opening things up.
What's the difference?
So, I mean, Cuba, yes, it was a dictatorship, but they were also putting their people first in a sociological type of way. But they don't seem, and they seem to have found friends in Russia. And that, of course, the Cold War wasn't very pretty. But now, like, if you look at Cuba, they don't have access to like their closest, biggest trade partner. And we're cutting them off in ways which hurt people when we've already proved our point. Like Cuba's not, and like Cuba has great relationship with Mexico and a great relationship with England. But for us to continue to have embargoes on them, it's something built for yesteryear and not conducive to good relationships right now.
Okay, I have my own thoughts on this, but I'm not going to talk about that, right? It's really about your ideas, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I can understand your position, though. So the thing is that, well, I'm going to ask you right now, what about Mexico? That's an interesting relationship. What do you think about U.S. and Mexico, just being Mexican, American?
You know, I think it was interesting to hear that U.S.'s biggest importer or exporter of goods, Mexico, is now Mexico and not China. I think that's great to see that Mexico infrastructure is getting better and that they're able to supply things to people.
Cool.
Yeah, I like where Mexico is trending. They're about to elect their first female president. Their Supreme Court has.
Oh, I didn't even know. Crazy.
Yeah, Mexico's Supreme Court has plenty of representation on it.
What representation? I mean, female representation?
Yeah, female representation and just overall like party representation. And because for so many years, Mexico was run by the PRI, which was the governing party for almost 100 years. So in my lifetime, Mexico has shown a lot of growth. In the past 30 years, a lot of things have changed, and it's a struggle. Change, doesn't come overnight per se, but Mexico's doing a lot of good things. And they've also calmed their rhetoric after Trump came out of office and Biden went in. They've been much more peaceful and fruitful negotiations between U.S. and Mexico. So that's been really good.
Okay.
To see.
Earlier you said that you were like, one of the things you're proudest of is like, giving out a lot of vaccines and stuff. How do you feel about vaccine mandates?
If a vaccine is proven to work and there is a health epidemic going on, I believe in vaccine mandates.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about there's also, I think, the World Health Organization is trying to roll out, I think, global mandates.
So that'd be like a NATO. That'd be an interesting one to think about because from a federal standpoint, I could understand why, because we're in charge of governing our people and we're here to represent our people within our borders and some policy outside of our borders. But for the World Health Organization to implement a worldwide mandate there's no way they could enforce it, but there's also no way that they could demand it. Like in terms of like they don't have governing power. So that's how I'm thinking. I'm thinking from like a governing power standpoint. But if the World Health Organization were to come out and go like measles is on the rise and there's new strains coming out, we need the world to get vaccinated now, I would believe them, and I would work within Congress to make sure that gets put into effect.
Good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about some other things. Okay. So the thing is that besides taking care of the military, besides taking care of vaccine. Wow. Okay. Let's talk about we also talked about earlier about one of the big spending is those entitlements, right? Welfare, right. Social Security, public housing. Well, we'll get to that public housing in a second, but how do you feel about those? Do you have any particular thoughts or, ideas for that entitlements?
Entitlements. I think there's ways to clean them up. I think like right to work states, I don't necessarily think that those have worked out very well. I think that there are plenty of good things such as Section 8, but there's also penalties to being involved in those programs. So if you're on Section 8, you have to be in one county, but let's say your job changes and you lose your job in that county, then you need to go to a different county and then you have to start the process over there. And then in terms of like welfare or Medicare, like those can all be streamlined. I think they need to be overhauled, but most importantly, like streamlined. There seems to be not a lot of communication between the state, federal, and county. Because people I've worked with, there's always questions and they never know who to go and they never really have proper case management.
Okay, I don't know. How much do you know about housing? Are you like kind of into it or not really?
I'm into it enough. I have a lot of family who've used Section 8 and I've worked with people who used Section 8 and that's what California uses. So
yeah, here in New York, they still have Section 9. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it. Don't know. Couldn't speak much on it.
It's public housing. Actually, we're resisting the change to Section 8. So it's I know a lot of my viewers may find it very strange that you're promoting Section 8, but a lot of them may not know that in many areas of the country, actually, New York City is one of the last holdouts. New York's one of the last holdouts to actually still have public housing. Section 9 still exists. But
so I will reiterate,
there is no more Section 9.
I'm only supporting Section 8 because it's what we have. It needs to be streamlined and redone.
So
right,
that's the best they got right now. Yeah, that's what they're trying to change everything over.
I have way different ideas on what housing should actually look like, and I'm like, but in terms of what we have federally going right now in California, Section 8 is what we have.
Yeah, we're at just so you know, over here, because they're trying to save Section 9, there's at war with Section 8, so they may get triggered, but if they're not in California, they don't know really what's going on there. I do have some knowledge, as I do work all around the country on different issues, so it is what it is. Okay, so that's not that I'm saying I'll save Section 8, but save Section 8. Yeah, I'm not saying that, but once again, different parts of the country have rolled out. I'm not really sure exactly what's going on in California, so I really just not out there. So
California has some interesting Yeah.
Okay. Another thing that's interesting, the federal economy, people say a big deal is the economy, right? Yeah. What's your idea on the whole economy thing?
Works well for some.
Okay.
I walk a lot of small businesses and they're not happy. But then I go if I go walk a Starbucks or I go walk a big steakhouse that you could find across, they're fine. Because they're all subsidized by big corporations. They don't necessarily need to make a profit. They just need to be there to control the market. So, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You could finish.
No. Feel free. I felt like I was going to ramble a little bit.
Okay. How do you Okay. So another thing that the United States is involved in, right, besides war and stuff like that, they're also involved in trade with other countries, right? I think you also mentioned about Mexico having a large trade, which is cool, right? But how do you feel about TPP, right? Yeah, NAFTA, these other types of things. How do you feel about these things? Yeah,
I feel like they're a bit more on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, NAFTA. I think a lot of these trade agreements are uneven and they benefit business in a way that doesn't benefit all businesses in America. It benefits business that have a lot of capital. It benefits businesses that have a lot of money, whether it's in the stock market or through their ownership groups. I don't think those benefit small businesses. And I think it shows because small businesses, their numbers, they just haven't bounced back since COVID and reopening up in our state and in my district. And so I think it's something that needs to be relooked at big time.
Okay. I want to shout out my co-host. I do have active co-host who's actually in Los Angeles, Lisa Henshaw. I don't know if she's going to watch this. Probably. Who knows? Yeah. Right now, she's there's someone running. I think who is it? Barbara Lee's running against Adam Schiff.
Yeah, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Barbara Lee. Those are the three big Senate candidates.
Do you have anybody that you're particularly supporting? And
I haven't decided.
Do you think any of them might endorse you?
No. No.
Like, so are you politically active in your area? Do you have like?
Yeah, I am politically active.
A club? Are you part of a political club? Are you like going to get no?
No, I will visit clubs. I will go to like Yes in My Backyard meetings, or I'll go to Progressive Alliance meetings, or I'll go to like Farm Workers Union meetings. I have gone to those meetings, but I'm running against a 27-year Democratic incumbent, and no one's gonna endorse me over her. So
yeah, it's gonna be tough to get past the primary.
Not necessarily. The data shows that you can get past the primary. But would I get more votes than her? Probably not. At the primary level. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. So, all right. Let's see. What else is the federal government like really into nowadays? Well, one thing that's I noticed that you talked a lot about was like supporting women and things like that. I think that also I did see on your website you said you were also supporting transgender things like that. I did ask about that earlier. Right now there seems to be some kind of like a big deal about that. Like, what do you think is going on
in terms of supporting diverse communities, like trans, queer communities?
There seems to be like, like honestly, in my opinion, like, yeah, I just kind of threw that out there. I feel like there's a moral panic going on. I feel like the community,
I think
for some reason, like they were there like 10 years ago. How come all of a sudden now, like it's a problem? Like what's going on? Like,
because when people get scared, they attack groups that don't have as much protection.
Yeah, I feel like they're just like, it feels so fake to me.
It's driven by religion. It feels. It
was there 5 years ago. Like, how come all of a sudden it got hot?
Like, 5 years. Let's just get down to the border's always been an issue, right? And they bring it up in cycles. And then trans women are an issue. Sports are an issue. It's the same thing it was 70 years ago when they didn't want to give people of color the right to drink out of the same water fountain, or 100 years ago when women were trying to vote.
Okay.
It's reactionary, and it's used to control people. It's used to create fear, and fear, to quote Dune, fear is the mind killer. Fear creates this power struggle.
Okay, so here in New York City, we're actually, what is it called, a sanctuary city. So there's kind of like, I don't know if you see on the news some type of like migrants coming in. There's some resistance. There's some back and forth going on. I have to say it is a little bit rowdy, tell you the truth, thinking about it. Actually, yeah, they were taking their scooters and stuff. I didn't really like that. That's kind of sad. Whatever. Anyways, are you guys like also having migrants coming into your area? Is this
we haven't had any bus loads, but we have migrants coming in every day.
Yeah, because if it's a large Mexican community, I bet you there's going to be people moving in.
We also have
they're going to look to try to move in with their friends.
We also have a huge Chinese community. We also have a huge Vietnamese community. We have a huge Latino community. We have a lot of communities that are built from migration.
So how do you feel about the open border thing? I mean,
I wouldn't say our borders are open at all. People are figuring out how to cross them. That's for sure. I'm glad that we're a sanctuary city because people deserve to be taken care of, and they don't deserve to be vilified. A lot of these people are here working jobs, and those jobs pay taxes, and they're probably working at a lower rate because those companies know how to change the books.
So I feel the way you do. I do, right? They're not garbage, right? If they're there, like technically, right? They say there's a population shortage because people are productive. You need people to work. You need people to do things. If they work, they could like improve society, I think. But like then like people say it's going to take jobs and money. Like, what do you think is the solution to make this work? Like, I don't know, like make how would you, right? Because there's concerns, right? The migrants, they say they're using up a
Yes,
lot of
there's
resources.
concerns, and
How do
most of
you
it.
make this work? Yeah.
Well, let's just say this: in a couple years ago, the biggest bust ever, I think, by ICE was at a company in Mississippi. And just let me expand on this. And they were hiring, like, a huge portion that they hired was illegal. They didn't have papers.
Yeah.
And all of those people were deported or prosecuted, but no one at the company ever got fined. No one ever faced actual repercussions. So people that are saying that there's a shortage, I doubt there is a shortage. Companies know how to take advantage of working class people so that they could elicit the most money out of them, the most value out of them. And so companies, big businesses, will do that nonstop. And so it's hard to say that there's a job shortage when companies don't want to hire people because they can get cheaper labor somewhere else.
Okay.
I think if we restructured the visa process and the vetting process, it would allow workers to be here for a longer period of time. So we would have less ebb and flow. They'd be able to establish themselves more. And so that would create more of a less volatile working.
Okay, wait a second. I'm going to throw a little wrench in the gears. Okay.
Yeah.
The thing is that, like, we might think about like creating like a new deal for like the migrants or something like that, or maybe just Americans in general and migrants, right, to create jobs. But we just said earlier, right, there's a huge layoff. AI's coming in to like wipe out a lot of jobs. So how do we like take care of these two things together? Because it seems
America right now is an oligarchy. So if we tax the top and we can get our hands on the money that we created, the value we created, we could redistribute that towards the bottom part, towards working class, towards immigrants, towards whomever. We could socially recreate our society through taxation at the top. It's that simple. Because if we're losing trillions of dollars wealth from the working class, lower middle class, whatever class, and it's all going to the top 1%, 10%.
Are you a millionaire?
Oh, not even close.
Okay, I just want to know. Okay, there's a lot of socialist millionaires out there. I just want to know. I just want to know. I know it's kind of abrupt. I just had to ask.
I have close friends and family members that are.
Okay,
and I'm not just talking about equity in the house they own. That their bank accounts are doing pretty well, and I openly talk about it to them too.
Well, you're around tech and stuff too, so like
tons of tech. But also taxing the 1% doesn't necessarily affect those millionaires. I'm talking about billionaires. I'm talking about Meta, Facebook, Tesla, all of their owners. Those people that are getting $700 million dividends. Like it's different class of wealth that I'm talking about taxing.
When the millionaires team up together, they can also be a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dude, look at the construction companies. Like it's all there.
Yeah.
It all.
Oh, well. Can't stop them from clicking up, but you just got to click up yourself, man. It's what it is. All right. So, hey, look, that was pretty good. I think that's pretty much, I do have some other questions. I just, interested on my own, but I do have to return that call. That's pretty much the interview. So how can people find out more about your campaign? You have a website, you have social media update.
So they can go milanforcongress.com, MILANFORCONGRESS.com, and I have Facebook right now. Milan for Congress is the page. I also have an Instagram, Milan for Congress. I don't have TikTok. If anyone out there that wants to help me with TikTok, because that's how you get the youths today to vote and engage, just through that. So
now that people have your information, right? Yeah. What do they have to look forward to? You got an event coming up. You got like, what's your next?
I'm at the moment, I don't have an event coming up. I'm probably going to be holding one next week in Gilroy, which is just south of San Jose. But mostly I'm just walking door to door. I'm going to college campuses and I'm just reaching out to everyone in the community that I can. It's very fluid at the moment in terms of events, but when you're running grassroots things, it's things tend to change.
Okay, I don't know if you got to see something on my website right in the middle. Have you seen the GL7.com website?
The website you sent in the emails? You gave me?
DGL7.com.
Yeah, I was on
Okay.
it earlier.
So in the middle, right? Yeah, there's actually the thing where it shows us helping candidates run for office and this other kind of thing. One thing that we've done is what you may have available in your own area is the voter database. And instead of just having the rally where maybe 10% of the people vote, you can actually go door to door with people, right, with the list of people that voted before and specifically go to those. You know, I have other, maybe you already have consultants that called you and after you started running and offered to work for you.
Had a
Yeah.
lot.
So, are you working with any, or are you kind of like just doing it on your own?
No, I can't. I can't afford to. I'm a working class, low income, and I'm relying on family
We're open
donations.
source data activists, and we, you know, just so you know, are you do any coding?
No, unfortunately not. But I have friends who do.
Okay. Well, this thing, Rep My Block, is open source. It's on GitHub.
Okay.
We actually upload the data to the database for New York here.
Okay.
I don't. My man Theo is still overworked, but you know, if you guys want to, it's open source, so you guys can inspect the code, and you know, you guys can also buy solutions and stuff. But why buy it when we have open sourced it? So
yeah, I'll definitely look into that. I have the data that I purchased from the state, and so I do know what doors to knock on and stuff. But if there's something out there that's open source, why not? That's what community is all about, dude. Sharing the good stuff we have.
do you know anybody on something like called county committee or state committee for the Democratic Party?
I know a few state Democrat committee people, and I know a couple people working in the Democratic Party in Santa Clara.
You ever thought about like running, like, or like getting involved with the state committee or the county committee?
Yeah, and I was close to running for San Jose City Council a couple of years ago as well. So I have thought about that, and I thought about being a delegate. It's just I thought it was the right time to run for Congress, and I thought that there was.
But you've been around that crowd.
Yes, I have.
Okay, that's good. So you are political, so they know you. And you might actually scooch endorsement here and there, like maybe small, maybe guy, you know.
Yeah, hopefully.
Sometimes just you know, if you happen to know people that well, you might be able to post.
I have met with a couple of state assembly people as well who
well, this program is actually quite I think it's really awesome. I don't know if you've seen some of the people that we've already interviewed or seen of our past work, but I'm quite excited program. I think that some of the things coming out, damn, I don't want to brag too much, but my man Muti, who's actually one of the longest wrongfully incarcerated men in state history, he's got a direct tie to Mumia Abu Jamal, directly questioned Cornel West about my situation and about the corruption going on in the People's Party. So once that breaks, my thing might break open, and this project has actually been, I think, a really cool project. So I hope that it blows up and can help campaigns like your own really to catch on, because there's too much of this party leadership exerting control and only raising up incumbents, or then they become part of the machine. The special elections, they're getting their friends in. You watch their assistants literally become the next state senator, and it's like this. You know, it's not healthy. You know, it really isn't.
It's not.
Yeah.
And I've applied to so many roles within with state senators or city council members, and they always tell me, "Oh, Lawrence, you've got the thing," or "Oh, you interned with them," or "Oh, but you know what? We just don't have a job for you," or "We don't." And it's like, well, why not? Well, why can't we get other people? And then you find out that they're just hiring someone that they know from another campaign or someone that they know from another office. And it's like, yeah, it's literally all cyclical infinity. But yeah, it's been rough. Job market's been rough. Like, that's all I gotta say.
Okay, since we're kind of kicking it, right? Yeah, just a little bit. Just to let you know, I'm not like a really big vax mandate guy. I'm actually like a lot of my team. I don't know if you saw in my work, like you know, standing against vax mandates and stuff like that.
No, I did not see that, and that's okay. That's what you know.
I was in medical school. I actually have, you know, I'm not against all vaccines, but I do feel like it was rushed. I do feel like the industry has too much, you know, monetary, like the opioid crisis showed how out of control the drug companies are. And, you know, I think that, you know, when you take a look at, I remember in medical school, there's something called phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials.
Yeah.
Those things have time specified in school. I remember. Right?
Yeah.
3 months, 6 months, years, right? Yeah. You can't just pump it out like that. It just doesn't, it really seems like it was violating protocol. I know they said they sped it up or something. When the money's there, you do what the boss says, I need you to make this. I need this product out now. And then, I seen the rules. I seen
Yeah,
the guidelines. This is clearly breaking the guidelines. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but I'm just saying, to me, clearly something was violated in the production of the product at that rate. Just, that's how I feel.
that's how you feel. I appreciate you sharing
I
that
think
with
it's
me.
still true. I think it still needs to be looked at. Also, I'm sorry, the last thing I'm going to think of is, I know you have your own belief on it, and I'm not saying that, I know you're trying to do the right thing. I know a lot of people are grateful for your service of coming out and helping them get vaxxed, but the Nuremberg trials also say, right after World War II, that you have to have consent before any medical procedures can be
Of
performed.
course.
And I think
Yeah,
that's very important, right?
agreed.
So, yeah. So,
And if someone doesn't want to get vaccinated, that's their prerogative.
I think,
Like you
yeah.
can't. So when
If
you were
someone wants
asking
to,
for
yeah,
when you were asking for a vax mandate,
yeah.
I don't see it as like going door to door and I'm like forcing you with a needle in your arm.
Okay, good. Okay, well,
That's
thank
yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That's
thank
not what
God.
I'm talking about. It's not
Okay.
like me with a backpack being like, "Show me your shoulder." All right. When I think of a vaccine mandate, it's healthcare is at the brink of collapse. Society is under a ton of pressure from whatever epidemic, pandemic we're going through. If you want to be involved within this thing safely, you need to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
And though I don't agree with how we've lifted and kind of, it feels like the government's kind of forgotten about COVID a little bit. I do like that those who didn't want to get vaccinated and they waited and they stayed home or they went somewhere else and were able to get a job. They have the freedom to do that.
Do you know how things are in China right now? Like, where everybody's tracked with their phones at all times and this kind of thing?
Oh yeah, that's kind of. I mean, we are tracked here, but yeah, China's the social currency.
All of that, right? Yeah. Plus, they
Yeah,
can they can also they were using the vax thing to control movement and stuff. So they were saying an outbreak occurred, and then they would change people's things to red, and they would just it's just corruption. I mean, anybody could misuse anything, right? People could do that to traffic
yeah,
light. They could do it to they could do it to your health record. They could do anything. But
agreed.
it's just I wasn't really. I'm moving away from vaccine more towards the tech world thing because you're in
Okay.
California, right? You're concerned about the AI. What do you think?
Yeah.
I feel like you take a look at the way that our algorithms are controlling what we see, right? Yeah, through the marketing, the TikTok is I think it may be
Yes.
affecting attention spans. What do you
Yeah.
think is the future here with tech?
Man. Well, we're definitely. I've always wanted our future to be a nice Star Trek future. But
Do
I
you
feel
think
like
about passing laws to stop AI, or what is your idea to bring this?
I agree. I think AI is going to be a big issue, and I think we're going to have to regulate it and legislate it. But currently, there's been no real regulation and legislation against Google or any other company that's been using our data. So I think if Congress stays as is, AI is going to keep moving through and keep advancing, and we're going to be left behind, and Congress isn't going to do anything about it.
Okay, my response to that is the only way for them to do that is for them to break the internet. Because the way that they had pirated software, if I could access a server with AI on it in another country,
That's a good point.
you can't.
That's a really
Yeah,
good
you
point.
know what I mean. I'll just have
Yeah.
my AI server in Iceland or something. You just like Pirate Bay, you can't stop me. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm all about being a pirate, by the way.
All right. Well, I'm on the pirate. I do like pirate party. Yeah, I like that freedom idea. Yeah. So, I think AI is actually. But if they control all the servers and they say we're gonna lock off each country, but do you really want that? It kind of is breaking the scientific free open exchange of ideas.
You don't, because that's what the internet's all about, is the exchange of data between
But
people.
AI.
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do now, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think this is a separate hour-long conversation.
Hey, actually, just so you know, I don't know if you saw the discussion panels from last cycle. We talked about military reform.
I saw them. I have them clicked, but I haven't.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But what we're doing, that's actually, it's old in a way, right? We also have the written report down, and you can do that when you think about setting up your own thing. But what we're doing in this cycle is we're having each activists, they can set up their own. So if you wanted to, actually, I don't think we have anybody holding an AI panel discussion. So if you want to, I'll invite everybody else. I don't know if you see, like, we're actually having many candidates on. We're getting them on as quickly as we can.
What day do you think that'd be?
Anytime between now and the election.
Okay. Well, my election's March 5th. So we could definitely figure something out.
So the people that are, I think, like, Pride Month is in like June or something like that. So there's a lot of, like, events we're planning around then, specifically Earth Day, right? Yeah, we have like environmental stuff going on. The UN has a meeting. That's when a lot of the CCOP and the disabilities people are addressing some things there. Unfortunately, February is going by, and our Black History Month and our wrongful convictions people I have to call Chinchilla tonight and see what's going on. But
I think end of March, early April might be good because NVIDIA is about to launch something, I believe.
Well, I love it. Yeah. So if you want to host that, actually, I think that would also
I'm
help
literally
build
like
a platform.
I'm like 4 miles away from their headquarters.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. You see how this actually steers more all the people that are watching by platform. We're trying to steer them into your platform.
Yeah.
So they watch it on your platform. So you could host it. Yeah.
Sounds good.
You heard it here. Yeah. The AI discussion panel. We said,
I'll be leading it. Heck yeah.
Cool, yeah. All right. Why not? Yeah, absolutely. I'll also refer anybody in my network to you. So sounds great.
Perfect.
All right. Man. So I think that was a good closure. I want to get back to my other people. I think this was a productive conversation, and it's really nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I appreciate your questions. I thought they were well thought out, and this was fun. You made it super easy. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna have a lot more fun. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good one.
I just hit end stream right now.
Bye.
All right. Wait. Okay. Yes.